Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
Welcome back. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is free. We are all human beings, and I felt much as you wanted us to keep going, but as a father to someone, as someone I know, I said I know we needed to break so that you can relax a little bit, because you've been here since 5, so up to now I felt as a human being you needed fresh air, so we can proceed. Honor members, when we're breaking, it was Lilongwe Chirobwe. I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Chair. I hope you had a nice break. I've heard you mentioning about Likongwe and company, something like that, giving you advice on a number of issues concerning the fund. May I know who at Likongwe and company was giving you the advice?
Through you, Chairperson, and honorable members, it was Senior Counsel Pempo Likongwe. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you think you were suspended because you are resisting what the board chair wanted? Because in your submission you said there was a time the board chair came with a document all the way to Salima for you to sign, which you refused. You wanted the board, the committee first to discuss about it and sign it later. You thought it was a procedure to sign at that period, and you had resisted a number of attempts where the board chair, Jesus Nyurongo, was insisting that you sign. Going forward, on 25th, if not 27th October, you were suspended. A week later, the deal was concluded. Do you think you were suspended because you were maybe a stumbling block for them to finish the transaction?
Chair, again, probably I wouldn't want to insinuate, as probably you have seen my suspension letter, but I would want to bring you back to the very same issue of the commitment letters. I highlighted that in hindsight, I knew that that wasn't the right decision that I can go back and be proud of at the moment. So learning from that perspective, Chair, this time around, when I was approached to say, can you sign this letter? Can you do this? I was very much cautious of any correspondences or any decisions that I might make at that point in time. So I categorically indicated to say, I have reservations to sign this letter. To the point that he insisted that we do that together with the chair for investment. Still, I wasn't so comfortable. I referred it back to say, if you want me to proceed, can you copy the chair for legal and governance as well, looking at the governance perspective of the fund? So to me, I was just trying to be cautious moving forward to say we shouldn't be making the very same mistakes that we've already made, because mistakes are there to learn from. So for me, I thought that was the right decision to make at that point in time. Whether this is what infuriated the board chairperson, I wouldn't be in the best position to speak for him.
All right. If you are not suspended, do you think the sale could still take place or not?
Chairperson and honorable members, for me, I think my position at that point in time was that this investment was not feasible. One, based on the advice that was previously given by the experts, and again, the analysis that as Secretariat we did, because I mentioned that at this particular extraordinary board meeting that was convened in October, we also mentioned to say, based on our investment policy statement, this is something that could not be accommodated in any of the mandates of the fund managers. I think this is also where I was trying to clarify to say, if you give it to a particular fund manager, it has to make sense to them as well. because we said Old Mutual has 50% of the funds. Of course, if you look at how much at that particular point in time they were holding, we could not give them that mandate because they were already investing in the other hotel in Blantyre. So, Chair, to answer the question that has been posed by Lilongwe Chiobwe, as Secretariat, we did not give advice in support of the transaction. I mentioned to say, at that point in time, when we presented and they deliberated, advice from Secretariat was neither here nor there. So, as Secretariat, our position was that this was not feasible. But again, suffice to mention that as Secretariat, we do not have a voting right in the board. So that wasn't a decision for Secretariat to make. Thank you very much, Chair.
I see a hand from Blantyre Kabula.
Yes. Chair, just to clarify the point, whenever the fund is investing in property, do you seek permission from Ministry of Finance or Treasury?
Controlling Officer.
Thank you very much, Chair and honorable members. I think this is the clarification that I highlighted initially to say the investments are supposed to be generated by fund managers. And no, that's where I'm going. I want to clarify so that you understand the operations of the fund.
Do you yes or no? Yes or no? I'm coming here. Do you seek permission?
Blantyre Chiromoni, you may wish to be reminded that all the discussions are being recorded. As such, we ask you to switch on your mic. Controlling Officer, can you switch off your mic? Thank you so much. Blantyre Chiromoni, over to you. Blantyre Chiromoni, sorry.
When you are buying Sigerege, for example, and this process you are buying Amaryllis Hotel, in an event that you have signed the sale agreement, do you seek permission from the Ministry of Finance or from the Secretary of the Treasury in any way as a fund?
Controlling Officer, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. The stakeholder or the policyholder is informed through the quarterly reports that I highlighted that we issued today.
Do you seek permission or you just inform the policyholder for what?
We inform the policyholder for
Blantyre Chiromoni, can you switch on your mic whenever you want to take to the floor, please?
Do you seek permission from Ministry of Finance and Treasury or you just report for noting?
Through you, Chair, the Ministry of Finance is notified for their noting, rather, so to speak.
So to answer the question, you don't seek for permission. It means that the funds, the pension fund can actually go ahead and procure Sigereke without seeking permission from Ministry of Finance. Because I want this to come out clear, because there are two pension funds that people are mixing. The pay-as-you-go pension fund and your fund. What's the difference between these two funds? So that we have proper clarity. Which one is your fund? Do you seek permission from the Minister of Finance? Or do you seek permission from Treasury? That, can you please authorize this particular payment? We want to procure Amaryllis Hotel, for example.
Chair, I mentioned to say the Ministry of Finance is just notified as a policyholder.
You're not answering my question. Do you seek for permission to say we want to procure this? So Ministry of Finance tells you, yes, you can go ahead and procure. No, you can't go ahead and procure.
No, Chair, we don't do
that. Thank you so much, Chairperson. What has gone out of order, Zomba City North?
Chair, is it in order that you proceed without the stakeholder answering the question for Blantyre Chiromoni, the difference between the two pensions fund? The one pay as you go in the trust fund. What's the difference?
Controlling Officer? Can you come out clear on the pay as you go and the trust fund, the one that you were in charge?
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members. The difference between the contributory pension scheme and the pay as you go is, I think, as defined to say the contributory scheme is whereby the government contributes 10% towards the member, and the member himself contributes 5% towards the pot. Whereas the pay as you go is a defined pension scheme whereby there's a formula that is calculated based on the grade that you are in and the number of years that you have worked in the public service. So the contributory scheme basically works in such a way that these contributions are channeled towards the fund managers. So it's basically these fund managers that make investment that consequently are supposed to provide the optimal returns for the member benefits at the end of the day so that they get optimal benefits for their beneficiaries or themselves. So that's a major distinction between the pay-as-you-go and the contributory scheme.
Chilomoni, I think that response to the query that you had raised may go to Lilongwe Chirobwe. Can you wind up before we go to Lilongwe East?
Yeah. Let me quickly go through this. From the way you have presented yourself here, and before we had Mr. Chizaso Nyirongo here, having followed your presentations by both you and the chair of the board, it is clear that there are contradictions and accusations. The suspension letter tells it all. Can you tell Malawians what's your relationship between you and the board chair? What is it? How is it like?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Committee members. To tackle the question by Lilongwe Chirobwe in terms of the relationship between myself, I'm assuming that's now the office of the principal officer and the office of the chairperson of the board. I would say that I worked with a short stint with the chairperson at this point in time, as I mentioned that they got licensed somewhere in July, and they actually started work in September 2025, and then I exited, or I was suspended in October 2025. But probably maybe looking at the period that we've been in touch for quite some time, you would see that probably we've been liaising for quite over a year when he was in the office of the President and Cabinet, to the point where we definitely, maybe I was suspended in October 2025. So from all this, you'd note that there were a number of correspondences, probably some that at that point in time felt that probably this would be the decision worth doing, but then it turns out that it is not actually the best decision to be done at that particular point in time. And then moving forward, the very same things are recurring, of which, to me, at that material point in time, I expressed reservations. So I wouldn't be so sure whether my reservations made our relationship to be sour or something, but to me, it was something that I felt like being someone who has been in the fund and has made that particular mistake and has realized moving forward, I felt that maybe this shouldn't have been the right decision. So to me, I felt that that's a relationship that probably we needed to correct each other for checks and balances. But then maybe on the other hand, as I said that I cannot speak for the other part, I wouldn't be so sure whether this actually infuriated him, that probably maybe I was a stumbling block to the bigger picture that was maybe at play. So to me, it was quite a normal working relationship where you provide checks and balances to your boss, and where your advice probably is supposed to be expressed. So to me, it was strictly work relationship, which I thought that that was the right decision that I could have made at that particular point in time. So I wouldn't be so sure to say this is what infuriated him to actually write me that suspension letter. But then I thought that that was the best course of action at that point in time.
All right, last part one. Madam Colleen Zamba's role in all this, because I've heard you mentioning her in a number of times. What can you describe of her role in all this Amaryllis transaction?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Committee members, and Lilongwe Chobe, for your question to say what has been her role in all this transaction. Still, Chair, I will take you back to that 6th March 2024 meeting to say she categorically indicated to say they are the mother entity of all public entities. Therefore, they have a mandate to look into all aspects of public entities. So probably she felt that this was something that probably maybe she could influence. At that point in time, she indicated that there was a litigation that was pending, and she wanted to prevent that litigation so that they don't put government into disrepute. So her role basically was that she wanted to prevent that litigation. She didn't want to put government in disrepute, and that the transaction should still proceed. That was basically what she insinuated in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Finally, what can you tell Malawians? Amaryllis sold at 128 billion. You were there. You played a role. Are you proud of your role? What can you tell Malawians about your role? How you feel about it all? After now you've laid that 128 billion worth of the hotel thing done. You were there as a controlling officer. You had all your time. You made decisions along the way. Of course, you might have been ejected on the way, but still you played your role.
Honour members, can we allow, I'll get to you, our senior. What has gone out of order Nkatabe Central?
Honourable Chair, let's be straight with the facts. 128 was the selling price. 90 billion is what was paid, not 128. That's on record, Chair. Is it in order for the honourable member to refer to 128 as paid when 128 was the selling price? Is that in order, Honourable Chair?
Controlling officer, can you take that one from Chirobe, the one that has been posed?
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members of the committee. He has posed the question to say, what can I tell Malawians about the transaction and the role that I played during the period that I was in the fund? Chair, I would like to mention to say that I exited the fund on 25th or 27th October 2025, having played my role as the principal officer with the advice that we furnished the board to say this probably at that point in time would not be the feasible investment. That was the strong conviction of the Secretariat through my office. We made that submission to say, at this point, we feel like this is not the best buy at the moment.
There was a point of order from Chikwawa West, and there's another point of order from Blantyre Chiromoni. A point of order on another point of order. Let's start with Chikwawa West.
Thank you very much, Chair. I wanted to find out from him. He says this was not a best buy, and yet he wrote those commitments letters. I have here a WhatsApp discussion which you had with Chizaso Nyirongo, where you shared the commitment letter, and then you said here with my revised version, I think it can be dispatched with speed tomorrow. Can you tell this committee that Mr. Chizaso Nyirongo was the one who made you to do the decisions that you made, the wrong decisions, as you were saying that this is not a good buy? Can you tell the committee that he made you to do what was not right? I'll come with the final one, Chair.
Controlling Officer.
All right. Thank you very much, Chair and honorable members. I think if you can follow through that conversation, you will note that it was basically an instruction from that previous report to say letters have to be drafted, and the Director of Legal Services had to vet and make sure that that is dispatched. So I think that is the conversation that you're referring to at that point. I think that was on 7th March, immediately after that meeting. So the letter was dispatched. And again, the other one was also dispatched on 18th, of which I considered earlier on to say, I am also not proud at that decision that was made at that particular point in time. So moving forward, that's when I alluded to say, I intended, or the Secretariat intended to do business unusual, to say, if there are these things, probably they have to be properly vetted. For example, case in point, the meeting that the chair came to me in Salima to say, I needed to sign another letter, which at that point in time would also over-engage the fund to the seller, which I expressed my reservation to say, no, I think at this point in time, let's concentrate on what's on hand, the processes, if this is feasible, and then it will go to the board. Firstly, it had to go through the proper governance structure of the fund. So to answer your question, maybe in a nutshell, that's how I can respond to that one.
Thank you very much for your response. The last one, Chair. I wanted to find out from you, the meeting, I'm taking you back to the 6th March meeting in Izuzu. You received a WhatsApp message from Ms. Colleen Zamba. Good evening, this is SPC. I would like to speak to you. Good evening. This is well noted, Madam SPC. So should I come over to your office, right? Where are you, Lilongwe or Blantyre? Lilongwe. I can come over to your office. You can advise on the time. And then Ms. Colleen Zamba responds, sorry, I'm in Nzuzu. Would you please come to Nzuzu? We are with HE, want to be in Lilongwe quick, but we need to discuss some issues of your office. Blessed night. My question is, when you are going to Nzuzu, why didn't you go with your board, or did you inform your board chair about this meeting? Why not? Because this is where every transaction that you are talking about emanated from. Why did you inform the board chair? And the committee would like to know whether at that point you had stopped taking orders from the board chair, but from the SPC. Thank you.
Controlling Officer, can you switch off your mic? Going forward, honourable members, as we inch towards wrap up, I would urge that those issues we've discussed, maybe we may consider proceeding. Controlling Officer, kindly take that one while Lilongwe East is preparing question. Honourable members, Lilongwe East has been very patient. He raised his hand for some time and he's been very quiet. So when you're done, we'll go to Lilongwe East.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Committee members. When I received that communication that we are supposed to meet the SPC, actually the instruction was that she wanted to meet the board chairperson, the principal officer, chairperson for investment, and Mr. Levson Shira. That was the instruction that came later. But then when I informed the board chair, so to answer your question, I informed the board chair of the communication that we were being requested to meet the SPC. At that time, the board chairperson was not around. So he mentioned that you can proceed with the trustee that is available. So I checked with Levson Chira. He was also not available. So the only option that I was left with was to travel with the chairperson for investment, Mr. Boyd Amira. So to answer your question, I informed the board chairperson about the meeting.
Thank you so much, Controlling Officer, Lilongwe East.
Thank you so much, Chair, for giving an opportunity to the people of Lilongwe East to fire at least 2 questions to the Controlling Officer before this committee. In your role as a principal officer, what was your approach to manage the seller's pressure and the threats of litigation during this period of governance vacuum? What was the role you played? Question number 2, during the period when there was no board, did you facilitate any payment? Number 3, for the knowledge sake, to what extent is the fund required to submit contract documents to PPDA for legal vetting as part of its procurement process? Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Lilongwe East. Controlling Officer, can you take those 3 from Lilongwe East?
Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable committee members. And thank you very much, Lilongwe East, for your 3 questions that you've posed. You've asked about my role that I played during the period that we had governance lapse, assuming this is to do with the Amaryllis transaction, so to speak. I think I mentioned that we kept still on receiving correspondences from the seller, as well as those correspondences that came through the Office of the President and the Cabinet. I would also want to highlight to you that some of the correspondences came through Continental Asset Managers, who were at that point in time going towards the exit of the agreement that we provided to them to say they had to do their independent analysis. So in all this, the seller kept on pushing to say, let's have a meeting and conclude and finalize the transaction. My response has always been to say, we do not have a board. That is a decision that has to be made by the board. So, in so doing, what we can do is just to compile everything that is there from all other stakeholders and be tabled before the board for decision-making process. Again, through you, Chair, I'll refer you to those minutes that I highlighted that during the June meeting that I attended with the colleagues from Nico Asset Management, I was actually labeled as someone who was rude in that particular meeting because I insisted on procedure to say, if you want the fund to proceed, definitely there has to be a fund manager because this transaction cannot be done by the fund itself. So the fund manager has to anchor the project, has to advise. We have the actuaries. They also play their part. They advise in terms of the risks that the fund encounters. So in the absence of all these things, what Secretariat would only do is to sit, listen, take the input, and table it when time is ripe, when the board is constituted. So that's what my office did during this particular point in time. Now coming to the issue of facilitation of payments. Chair and honorable members, I would also want to put it out there to say the fund works with an approved budget. There is no way that my office can issue payments without that approved budget or without the requisite documents. So these include the resolutions, the minutes, and all the necessary guidelines that are supposed to permit that payment. Because payments are not done by the fund itself. Payments by the fund is made by another stakeholder through Zamara, pension administrator. So the administrators are more or less like the accountants of the fund. So in order for them to make payments, they have to be furnished with these documents that I indicated. On the part of the fund managers, I also need to clarify on that one, because I think there are so many insinuations going out there to say I authorized payments to the hotel that is being constructed in Blantyre. I want to make that clear to say that hotel, its budget had already been approved by the previous board. It's just the same way as maybe the road construction project is approved by Parliament. To say they have approved a road construction from, let's say, Kanengo to Area 25. There's no point at some point that the very same institution would go again to Parliament to seek approval for disbursements. What happens is that once that approval is given, the mandate now is given to the particular fund manager to hold that project. What they do in this particular instance, let's say the construction site, they bring in certificates to say we have reached this level, we want the fund to certify. And this process is also done by different stakeholders that are there at the project site, construction site. There is a steering committee, there are development managers that are there, and the construction engineers. They certify all these payments, all these certificates. They just bring to the fund to say, out of the budget that you approved, we want to proceed to another level. Can you give us that go-ahead to proceed to that level? And again, there are issues to do with the duty waiver. At that project, we applied for a duty waiver. So again, they also come to the fund to say, we want to procure these materials. Can you give us a go-ahead based on the budget that was previously approved by the board? So those were indeed approved by my office, and they proceeded as such. So there was no point that the project could have stopped just because there's no board. Because that project had already been approved, that budget had already been approved by this other board. Coming to the third question.
Blantyre Chirobwe, what's gone out of order? Can you switch on your mic?
Having said that those projects were approved, is that the reason why you paid 1.15 billion instead of 867 million on the same project in Blantyre, the one you have mentioned?
Controlling officer, I would to urge that you restrict yourself to the issues pertaining to Amaryllis Hotel, because an attempt to give examples outside this investment shall nurture this more questions. So I think at this stage, if we confine ourselves to Amaryllis Hotel and how it was purchased and all that, and the role that you played, it's going to help not only you, but even the community and the public out there, because we have borrowed powers to investigate, to have an inquiry around this purchase. So we may not divert that much. Over to you, controlling officer.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and committee members. So in that case, maybe probably I would just want to request Lilongwe East just to refresh me on the third question that you posed.
All right, thank you. The question was to say, to what extent is the fund required to submit contract documents to PPDA for legal vetting as part of its procurement process? I haven't heard much about procurement to do with the PPDA, so I just wanted to know to what extent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Committee members. To answer your question, Lilongwe East, I would mention to say the fund managers are given the power of attorney to do the procurements of the fund. So in that case, they follow their procurement guidelines in the private sector. But for those ones that are done by the fund, the PPDA is always consulted. So there are actually 3 tiers in the contracts that are done by the fund. So we go through the PPDA. They also go for vetting process at the Ministry of Justice and the Anti-Corruption Bureau as well. So they go all through these tiers. So for example, those procurements are to do with procurement of, let's say, the administrator. So maybe I shouldn't digress that much as directed by the chair, but the processes are done in that manner.
Thank you so much. Mulanji's office.
Chair, for your comfort, I know we need to wind up. You have had a busy weekend, and we have had the liberty of taking most of your time. We need to release you. Chairperson, a quick one. I wanted to refer our stakeholder, Mr. Jim, to the minutes of the Mzuzu meeting. Item 5, where you were presenting the status of investments of the fund. Action point number 4. I'm not sure whether you have the minutes with you readily, or I should help you to read them out.
For the sake of time, Mulanje's office, kindly proceed to read.
Much obliged, Honorable Chairperson. Action 4, being it that the issues has reached the highest office, the fund was advised to report on weekly basis the progress made in this transaction. Make communication to the Director of Legal Services, Mr. Chizaso Nirongo. Action point number 5. The fund was to engage the next investment manager on the Amaryllis completion by 8th March 2024. Honorable Chairperson, this meeting was taking place on the 6th, and there was a directive that the investment fund manager must be recruited in 2 days. And action number 4 is actually talking of the highest office. Is it wrong to assume that in a meeting where the SPC was chairing, reference to a higher office was reference to an office higher than hers? Chairperson, that's my last question.
Controlling officer.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. I think the question that is being posed by Mulanje Southeast is that the highest office that is being referred to here, which one exactly is it? I think if I've got it right. From my understanding, I think what she was trying to insinuate was the office of the President and Cabinet, in which she sits as the head of that office, to say it has reached her office, that there are these pending litigations, so there's need for us to proceed. I'm not so sure whether she meant that it's actually higher than her, but from the conversation, it was actually confined to that office of hers.
Honorable Chairperson, the minutes are actually saying...
Mulanje Southeast, yes.
Honorable Chairperson, the minutes are actually saying the highest office. Would somebody refer to their own office as the highest office? This, not my office, but these matters have reached the highest office, meaning their own office.
Controlling officer, maybe since this committee is supposed to interface the one who wrote that, I think that one may have a clear meaning on what she meant by doing that. Unless the controlling officer or Mulanje Southeast, you have another thinking. Since as a committee, we're supposed to interface with Ms. Colleen Zamba, maybe if I ask you to shelve that one, keep it so that she can, as the author of that letter, can clear herself. If that's okay with you.
Honorable Chairperson, much obliged, but I think we are talking about minutes that were authored by the stakeholders seated in that seat. That's why your honorable committee would want to get a clarification from him, because he minuted this, saying that the issues had reached the highest office. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Mulanje's office, because the same question he was asked and he responded. Now we're bringing the same question, expecting that he's going to give us a different response. Controlling officer, can you come out clear on the what you wrote as the secretary to the board?
Yes, Chair. I mentioned to say I am the one who actually authored the report. And I think as my previous, the other members that came before the committee highlighted that probably maybe they did not have time to vet the report. Actually, I'll call it the report because they did not have time to look at the contents of this report. It was actually reported it was actually my report to the board for the records because it was a meeting that I was called, chaired by the SPC, but I had to keep a record of that report so that I report back to my superior, who's the board chair. So in my understanding, when she said that, I thought that probably the highest office she was referring to was her office. Because she mentioned that these issues, the litigation issues, have reached my office and we don't want to put government in disrepute. Therefore, you need to act with speed. So the highest office that probably I thought at that time when I was crafting this was her office.
Thank you so much, controlling officer, because you wrote that and you've given clarification on the same. But at this point, anyone with a bidding one? Yeah, Blanta Chiromoni, then Lilongwe Chirobwe.
Chair, I think one thing that's coming out very, very clear here is the fact that after the meeting of the 6th March 2024, the then principal officer, working with the highest office, started now ignoring his own board, to an extent that the high office in court would instruct him write a letter on the 7th of March 2024. The board meets, confirms the resolution that we are not going to proceed with the purchase. 3 days later, on the 18th, he gets instructions again from the board. And they gave him comfort to say, don't worry, my friend. Actually, when the tenure of this board expires, we're not going to renew it. Which also is going to say I'll be the only one without anyone supervising me. And he's comfortable operating for almost 6 months without a board. Now, in that meeting on the 6th of March, which resuscitated the sale, the two key people that were in that meeting, and one of the complaints was that the sale was not moving with speed. And they had given action points chair to say 1 month we must conclude. He was dragging. I am thinking, chair, that the guy, I will withdraw the word guy, the suspended principal officer was playing ball all along until government changed. Then he realized that Madam Colleen Zamba had no more power. At that time, he was trying to run up and down to start now realigning with Chizaso. Because all these guys were in that meeting, even with Chizaso. My expectation, chair, would have been that it would have been easier for him to work with Chizaso. And therefore, suddenly him and Chizaso are not on the same page. Because now government has changed. He wants to switch sides. And Chizaso said, my friend, I got you. He boots him out by following those letters, the excuses that are there, and gets Boyd Hamela, who was also in that meeting, to speed up the process. And within 30 days, the process has been completed. Is it wrong, therefore, to conclude that maybe he's bringing out all these issues, hanging everyone, just because he was excluded in the deal, chair? I submit.
Thank you so much, Blanta Kabula. But I also reminded you that you're getting into, the results of the inquiry. So I think Blanta Chirazulu Nyungwe. Chirazulu Nyungwe, please.
All right, thank you, Chair. There was a mention of the meeting on the 25th of October, the board meeting in which Mr. Chizaso Nyirongo decided to actually bring back the issue of the transaction on the table. He cited, when I asked earlier, he had stated that the reasoning behind it, or the motivation behind it, was the fear of litigation. However, days before that, on the 20th of October, is when they had sought independent legal opinions that told them that they had an 80% chance of winning the case. So as a man that was in the meeting, I still would be comfortable leaving here knowing exactly what happened for that meeting to still come forward to conclude that they should go forward with the transaction, number one. Number two, in that same meeting, we know that in all other board meetings, the minutes are always signed by the secretary, being the PO and the chairman of the board. However, in this case, even though he was still an officer, he had not been suspended yet, he did not sign those resolutions. So I'd like to know why these specific resolutions are only signed by the chairman of the board. Finally, I wanted to know that in his many years of serving on the fund, in his experience of all other investments, would he say that the speed at which this particular Amaryllis transaction moved in, would he say that it is justifiable or regular as an investment made by the fund? Thank you so much, Chair. Those were my burning questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chilazulu Nyungwe, Lilongwe Chirobwe. From here, controlling officer, you take both from Chilazulu Nyungwe and Lilongwe Chirobwe.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's now late and you wish to retire, but still I need to ask the controlling officer. After MCP regime had gone, during the MCP time, there was Madame Colleen Zamba was so much interested in this. But came 25th September, the MCP government went. DBB government came. Who in the new regime was like Zamba? Who had much interest in this case? Because there was an advice that this is not viable. This deal, even in your own explanation, you even say that this deal wasn't viable, 36 years and 40 years to start gaining, it wasn't viable, it should be stopped. Who in the new regime continued this? Because if we talk of Zamba, it has to end from 25th September. Thank you.
Controlling officer, you may take those two from Lilongwe Chirobwe and Chilazulu Nyungwe. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and committee members. Probably, Chair, with your indulgence, maybe let me clarify firstly on the issue that was raised by Blantyre Jiromon, to say I was comfortable operating without the board after the 6th March meeting. I would like to point you to the several letters, Honorable Member, that I wrote to the relevant authorities requesting that I needed the board to provide that oversight at the fund. I started writing the regulator, mentioning to them that the absence of the board now represents a governance lapse, where we sought regulatory guidance in terms of the way this board was dissolved. Again, we issued a number of letters to Minister of Finance reminding them that the delay in providing the instrument of appointment also constituted the governance lapse that was there. So I just wanted to make it clear through you, Chair, that it wasn't that I was comfortable working without the board. I did everything in my powers to make sure that the board is properly or duly constituted so that there is that oversight for the fund. And now coming into Chilazulu Nyungwe questions. The question that has been posed was why was this transaction actually, I'll start by answering the second question, which he asked to say I was there in the meeting. and why did I not sign the resolution at the end of the day? I wanted to point it out that the principal officer does not sign a resolution. I think I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation to say, according to the trust deed, Article 15.12, the one who is supposed to sign for the resolution is the board chair, and countersigned by perhaps the vice chairperson or the chairperson of the relevant committee. In this case, it would be the chair for investment. So those are the two signatories. For the minutes, yes, I do sign for the minutes. So in the case of the minutes, what needs to be done is that those minutes are supposed to be reviewed in the next board meeting. So once they are reviewed, that's when you pen the signature. So this did not happen because it was like we had a meeting today, and then 2 days later, I was not in the fund. So there was no time that I could append my signature to the minutes that were not reviewed. I thought I needed to make that one clear, to say, firstly, the principal officer does not sign a resolution. And secondly, the minutes are supposed to be vetted first before a signature is pended. So that never happened, because for those minutes, what it means is that they are going to be reviewed in the next board meeting in the next 3 months. So that's when those minutes will be signed for. Unfortunately, I'm not there, so I wouldn't sign for them.
Other members, can I have order? Controlling officer, I want to urge you. You've talked of, can you switch off your mic? You've talked of so many communications, letters which were issued, be to guidance to the policyholder, in this case, Minister of Finance. You've talked of all those documents. Kindly put them together and submit to Parliament, so that at our free time we can go, and that will surely speak to our final report. So kindly bring all those documentations so that we keep them, and they shall form an integral part in our final decision. Controlling officer, you've been here for some time. There's a point of order from Blantyre Chilomoni Kabula Nancholi. What has gone out of order?
The suspended principal officer has misled the House. According to the trust deed 15.10, reads, the fund secretary shall keep minutes of all meetings of the board and the exercise by the board of all powers and discussions vested in them, and the passing of resolutions shall be recorded in such meetings, in such minutes, full stop. A document certified by the chairperson of the board and the secretary of the board to be a true copy of the resolution of the board shall be sufficient evidence of that resolution. He only refers to the minutes and not the signed resolution. Actually, he is entitled to sign that resolution as well, Chair.
Controlling officer?
Chair, which article are you referring to, Honorable Member?
Signed trust deed 15.10.
Chair, I want you to focus on 15.12. That's the one that I was indicating. 15.12.
That one is mentioning about contracts and other documents shall be signed by the chairperson of the board and the fund secretary, unless resolved otherwise.
Yes.
But you should focus on 15.10 because it's actually clearly certifying that a document certified by the chairperson of the board and secretary of the board to be a true copy of the resolution of the board shall be sufficient evidence of that resolution.
That's 15 point.
I just thought that he's misleading the House, and this is a House of record. We can't let that skip.
All right. Thank you very much.
Controlling officer, can you take those? Then we wind up. Because tomorrow morning at 9:30, honorable members, we are having another stakeholder. I'm not trying to curtail, but just to make sure that tomorrow you are on toes as well. 9:30 a.m. we are in this room interfacing with the AG. So we need to get prepared. But that must not water down the submission for the day. We need to be conclusive in our process of collecting relevant information, which is going to help us conclude the inquiry on a good note.
All right. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah, please proceed.
I wanted to clarify on that issue because I think in my submission, I indicated that the fund, the way it was, actually the way it was established to say it started in 2017 with Secretariat from the Ministry of Finance. And at that time, there was no well-established Secretariat. So at that time, we did not have a fund secretary. So moving on from that time, the tradition has been that all the resolutions are signed in that manner. So, the resolutions are signed by the chairperson and the vice chairperson of the board. In the absence of the vice chairperson of the board, the chairperson of the relevant committee signs the resolution. It's only the minutes that are signed by the, co-signed by the Chair. I think this is drawn from the 15.12 that I'm referring to, that when there's that written resolution to proceed in that manner. So that's the tradition that has been taken from 2017.
Blanta Jirobe, relax, chill.
That I'm trying to mislead the House. I'm just explaining the procedures that has been there and what has been adopted in the fund. Because if you are to go back to check from 2017 up to now, that has been the tradition in the fund. So it's not that I'm trying to misrepresent the facts. So it's a tradition that has been there in the fund, so to speak. Chair.
Are we going to be basing our arguments on the laid down procedure, or we're going to be basing it on the traditions which have been nurtured by individuals, maybe to suit their interest? Can you come out clear?
Chair, I think that's now something depending on the interpretation of the deed itself, because I'm just trying to highlight what has been there on the ground. So at that particular material point in time, I don't think it was feasible for me to proceed and sign a resolution. There's no resolution that has been signed by the principal officer.
All right, members, I'll take it that as a committee, we've noted that one, and Secretariat can take note of the same so that we proceed, because the controlling officer has taken a stand. Honourable members have noted a gap, so we need to reconcile the two. So I will guide the committee in this manner that let's proceed because we are getting the gaps, and at the same time understanding what he's saying out of what he has said and what is in the deed. Then as a committee, we'll sit down when we're done with all the stakeholders and reconcile the two. Honourable members, allow me to give the controlling officer can you, before I take a point of orders, can you finalize responding to Lilongwe Chirobwe and Chirazulu Nyungwe? So, other members, let's give him space without interjections. When you've noted the gaps in the submissions, just take note. Then when we're done, you can highlight some of those gaps. That will help us generate the final report or the inquiry. Yes, controlling officer, right. Take those from Chirazulu Nyungwe and Lilongwe Chirobwe. Over to you, controlling officer.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members. I think the remaining question from Chirazulu Nyungwe, if I'm not mistaken, I think you remind me, was that why was the transaction concluded at that speed? And according to experience, is this the norm in the fund? Chair, I wouldn't really know as to why the transaction had to be concluded with such speed, apart from the what was being said that we were afraid of the litigation that was there, despite the advice that we got from all those legal opinions that we had. So I wouldn't know why the fund was in such a hurry to conclude that transaction. In terms of the speed at which this transaction was concluded, again, I would say probably it lacked a lot to be desired because a proper analysis had to be done, and the different stakeholders had to be procured to make those analyses. So I'm sure that maybe the speed at which this transaction was done maybe is what provided some flaws in the process. So in a nutshell, I think those are the responses for Chiratsuru Nyungwi. For Lilongwe Chirobwe, I think the question was that in the current regime, who was the person that we can liken to Madam SPC, Colin Zamba. Chair and committee members, I wouldn't say that at this point I actually faced that pressure from the previous regime. At this point in time, you would note that we're talking of 26th September to October. So it was just in between that we were getting the correspondences from the seller and the fund. So the response to this, I would say that I hadn't interfaced with any of the major political pressures at this point in time. Thank you.
Other members, I think there's a point of order from Zomba Sitenov and the Mulanje Southeast.
Yes, Chair. Is it in order that this committee should proceed with the inquiry without engaging the kingpin of this whole transaction, who has been mentioned a number of times by the stakeholder there, Ms. Colin Zamba, who can unfold everything that had happened? I had the suggestion that before even we meet the other stakeholders, this person that has been mentioned a number of times should appear before this committee, and then we proceed. That's my take.
Zomba City North. I think before this engagement, we had an engagement where all the members who were present spoke, and our legal team guided on how we're going to proceed. I think when we're done with the controlling officer, we will also reconvene and discuss on how we're going to proceed, like we indicated earlier on, because we normally talk, and I wouldn't want us to start discussing such things now, because I want to land this inquiry smoothly, because there are a lot of people who want results out there. So let's proceed. We wind up with the stakeholder who is here. Thereafter, we'll sit down and discuss how we are going to proceed as a committee and as has been the tradition. Yes. Yeah, I had recognized.
Chair, thank you so much for recognizing the people of Chikwawa West.
Chikwawa West, before you take to the floor, I had already recognized Mulanje Southeast. I think it will be procedural that we exhaust. But there's a point of order from Mulanje Southeast. Mulanje Southeast.
Thank you for indulging the people of Mulanje Southeast, Honorable Chairperson. For the record, Honorable Chairperson, the stakeholder has pointed out the procedure that they were following within the fund, which was that after a meeting, they would endorse the minutes in the next board meeting. That's on record, Chairperson. And for some reason, the board meeting of the 17th of January 2024 were not endorsed during the board meeting of the 13th to 15th of March, or if they were endorsed, is it wrong to assume, Honorable Chairperson, that the stakeholder before your Honorable Committee made sure that these minutes disappear as they have disappeared? Because probably those minutes were supposed to have been endorsed in the next meeting, and they would not have been forgotten if that was the procedure. Honorable Chairperson, indulge the people of Mlanje Southeast constituency so that they sleep properly, at least tonight, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
On Friday, we didn't have an inquiry. On Saturday, on Sunday. So all those days you're not sleeping peacefully. There is a problem elsewhere. But for the sake of this deliberation, controlling officer, can you take those things? Can you take those questions?
Just for clarification, Honorable Member, Mulanje Southeast, you're referring to the minutes of 17th January 2024. Okay. So, Honorable Member and members of the committee, as I highlighted to say, minutes are endorsed in the next board meeting or committee meeting. I think for that particular instance, I think this was something that I think it was done. Was it an extraordinary meeting? I'm yet to confirm, as I was just trying to browse through. So an extraordinary meeting is different from this particular kind of arrangement that I'm alluding to. But I will confirm and maybe provide that feedback to the committee through Secretariat. But what I highlighted has been the procedure throughout the period that I've been with the fund. To say, once you review the minutes in this quarter, once you have a meeting in this particular instance, the review would happen after you also meet as a board, so that if there are corrections, they are done at that particular point in time. And then after that meeting, that's when you can ask the chair to append the signature, and then the principal officer could also do the same.
Thank you so much. There was a point of order from Chikwa West.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think my point of order was on the issues that have been raised by Zomba City, that after today's revelations about the SPC, I think what Zomba City meant was like, should we proceed to meet the other stakeholders before we meet the SPC? Considering that you mentioned that tomorrow 9:30 we are meeting the Attorney General, so maybe that was the view from Zomba City. I wanted just to get that clarification. But as you have said, that the discussion can be made after our stakeholders left, I thought maybe it would be wise to mention about it, because he is the one who has indicated that the mother of whatever was happening about this hotel deal is the former SPC, Ms. Colleen Zamba. That's why maybe the people of Chikwa West would also maybe share the same view with Zomba City. Thank you, Chair. But otherwise, you have said we can discuss this after he has left. So it is okay. I think that's the point I wanted to raise. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is my deep-felt belief that the controlling officer has highlighted few key and sticky issues that needs to be deliberated upon as a committee, and we always have in-house meetings and discussions on how we intend to proceed. I should believe that at this stage we are all pulling towards the same direction, that we need to find out the real issues, what actually happened, on top of the recoveries or quarantining of the monies that we've achieved this far. But there's a need for us to provide more to the nation. So I should believe that we will not have interference from others who are not within this room, so that we get to the conclusion of this. Honorable members, at this point, allow me to give the controlling officer space to highlight his closing remarks. That's normal in the event that you feel that the discussions did not touch on the areas that you felt could touch and explain. I would like to give you this opportunity or this time to express such sentiments, and at the same time offer your closing remarks. Over to you, Controlling Officer.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members of the committee present here. As my closing remarks, I would like to sincerely thank you for offering me this opportunity to present my side of the story. As I have highlighted, probably there are a number of issues that I think highlighted that probably I would have loved to highlight at length, although, Chair, with your guidance and direction, you indicated that I needed to confine myself to issues to do with the Amaryllis transaction. But still, I would have loved if the committee is taken through in terms of how these fund managers operate vis-a-vis the Public Service Pension Trust Fund, and under what mandate and what authority do these fund managers have. I think that is very key for the committee to actually understand, and probably that would also give better insight in terms of the inquiry at hand. So as I indicated, that there is a power of attorney which mandates these investment managers to undertake the investment so that they do generate the investment initiatives that they feel would be in the best interest of the fund. So in that aspect, you would really understand the insinuations that I was making to say at each and every point, I emphasized on the need for having the fund managers present at each and every level, whether it is through just advisory services, because that's something that is actually there in the management contract of these fund managers, that they are supposed to give expert opinion to the fund through Secretariat. And again, I also wanted to underscore the fact that the Office of the Principal Officer is there to facilitate a number of issues, which amongst them is to provide preliminary analysis in terms of the correspondences that are there from the different stakeholders. I mentioned that, loosely speaking, I would term it as a hub. Secretariat is the hub through the Office of the Principal Officer, whereby you interact with the service providers from this side, and the same is synthesized for the deliberations of the board. So that is also another key area that probably the committee would want to focus on. And in terms of the signing arrangements as well, again, I think it's something that probably maybe the committee would look into to say, because I indicated to say, this is what has been the tradition when I joined the fund in the Secretariat. So there were some sentiments that probably felt like that I was misleading the committee. But if you are to go and triangulate this information that I'm presenting here, you would indeed note that there's no point in time that the Office of the Principal Officer pens a signature on a resolution, because that is believed to be a decision that has to be made by the board itself. So at no point does the Principal Officer has the voting right in the board to make a decision. Chair, having said that, probably it remains with me to thank you, your committee, once again, for engaging me as the Principal Officer that has been there for some time. I'm sure maybe there might be some other documentation that probably you would want to understand further. I'll be more than willing to provide such documentation to substantiate whatever that I've been presenting here, so that the committee doesn't feel like I'm misleading the committee. So I just wanted to make that clear, to say whatever that I've presented here is based on the factual analysis of or account of what I can present or recall on this matter. With that, Chair, I would say thank you very much once again for according me this opportunity to express myself. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jimo, for appearing before this committee. And would like to appreciate that you've remained focused throughout, and you've given this committee information which was within your custody. Where we need more information, will not hesitate. Secretariat will reach out and get the relevant information so that we can have an informed decision when it comes to this inquiry. For our members, allow me to appreciate the contributions that you've been making. You haven't drawn any extra allowance or overtime or night allowance since we started. That's the spirit. Thank you so much. There are times others have been habitual absentees. I will report to the Speaker so that because we sit here on his behalf, I'll do that for the sake of the committee and the integrity of the committee and that of Parliament, because much as you're not paid an extra amount for sitting even up to this hour, when others have already knocked off somewhere around 5 p.m., I think you deserve a special recognition from the Speaker. I should be relaying that to the Speaker because you've been doing this. Even tomorrow you're going to do this. And all the days when others are out doing their own jobs after the other sittings which were paid for, you still go on an extra mile. I thought it is very important for me to recognize the contributions that you're making and to appreciate. Let's keep this spirit so that we get to have a report that is well thought and which has your time sacrificed. And is, after some time you can say, I know I contributed towards this. Who knows? Even come 2030, we may end up all of us losing. But at that stage, never consider yourself as a loser because this is a great win for Malawi. And in times like this, you're called to duty for this. So don't worry about that. Having said that, controlling officer, allow me to ask you to take leave. Honour members, let us remain behind for an in-house discussion. Otherwise, Mr. Jimo, we wish you a blessed night. Enjoy your night. Thank you so much. You can take leave at your pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.